Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Ecovillage Talks, episode 6. And today we are joined by Om from Gaia Ashram, who's the normal co-host, and Gut Ying and Lockie from Reed Blossom Community in Hong Kong. So I'm Natalie. I work with Genoa. I'm in Thailand and really enjoying these Ecovillage Talks where we get to meet different communities and explore different topics. So Good Ying and Lockie, can I ask you to introduce yourselves a little bit and your community?
Uh, this is Lockie from Hong Kong. I just had a long day um, after working in a construction uh, project. So I I happened in the Reed Blossom community since 7 years ago. Um, and I went to the community first because of the connection with construction, like what I just mentioned. I'm uh, a designer and architect, and I got interested in uh, uh, natural building starting from 6, 7 years ago. And then it happened to be Nam Chung at that time has already uh, has a um, farming community over there, and I'm just curious about why would a bunch of people who also grow up in the city would choose to make home in a rural area. Uh, so um, I started to become very interested. So after one project, which is a reconstruction for the kitchen for that community in Nam Chung, I chose to stay behind and wanted to learn more about what's going on in this group of uh, urban people who move to live in the countryside. Uh, I guess I would stop here and I would let Bettina introduce.
Hello, Putin here. Lockie's next door neighbor and colleague, and also fellow community member. I joined Red Blossom in 2016. At that time, we didn't call ourselves Red Blossom. Um, um, and we just usually conveniently refer to ourselves by our location, which is Nam Chung, and Nam Chung is in the far northeast New Territories of Hong Kong. If you have a sense whether it is very close to Shuttlecock on borders of China, and Shenzhen, the closest Chinese city, is just a kilometer away. So I joined in 2016 as an intern, but I first came to Nam Chung in 2013, and that was the very first time when I heard about the concept Ecovillage in Hong Kong, and I was actually introduced to the community, to this farming community in Nam Chung by a well, a friend, and but a much more older friend who's an alum of the Chinese University of Hong Kong, and she for a long time has been promoting sustainable, the sustainable way of living and organic farming in Hong Kong. I have a background in cultural anthropology, and I guess for me, I've always been thinking, it always interests me how people come together to create transformation. And for me, building communities and particularly eco-villages is a very bottom-up, hands-on way to make this change actually happen. Yeah, and so here I am.
Thank you both. And can you introduce yourself and a little bit about where you are and very briefly how you came to be there, if it's possible?
You're muted.
Did
So how I came to this passion in community? Well, I'll keep it short. I am from Gaia Ashram, a community, a 12 years old community project and regeneration project in northeast of Thailand. And we've been around 12 years. We have the passion for regeneration in a holistic way. So that include the ecological regeneration and regeneration, our inner ecology also, which means our sense of belonging and sense of responsibility to coexist with the natural world and the rest of nature around us. And we also focusing on regenerating a kind of culture that we can use as a foundation and also as a way that where we can coexist with nature in a mutual, growing way. So not only us human could thrive, but how can we also coexist in the way that all beings together thriving. So we call ourselves community of all beings to remind ourselves that we are part of the bigger community. Although we focus a lot on how to build our community of human, but also with the awareness that there are bigger community around us, and it's important for us to figure out our community as humans in as that will help us to manage our life better. So it hopefully can have low impact to the bigger community around us. So that's Gaia Ashram and my passion.
And I'm just going to add a little bit to in that she is spreading a lot of knowledge and teaching a lot of things and putting a lot of energy into sharing this out to the next generation. So if anyone's interested in courses and visits, then check out Gaia Ashram in Thailand and check out, obviously, Reed Blossom in Hong Kong. And so I grew up in a big city for England, but not really a big city for the world, and then moved to Thailand 11 years ago. And I think something we all have in common is we started in a city, or maybe, you didn't start in a city, but you went to the city and then came back. So this topic today is about communication and decision-making and different ways of thinking and different cultures. And I think all of the things that you've got in your stories and my story is a different way of being, right? A different way of living. So I want to open up the topic and just ask all three of you, now you're in where you are in the lifestyle and in this different way of thinking, what are the differences in the way now in your communication to the previous life that you led and the previous ways of communicating? What are some of the things you see? Anyone can go first. You want to start us off?
Well, I think how my way of communication different from the previous life that I live. So my past is also the part of my life now. So it's just one storyline, and what I can see is that what changed in the way of communicating is that I found myself more authentic, I guess, because before it was a lot of the language of the dreams and of the visions of the of the passion, of the fire, of the hope. And after years of try to realize that and have experience of all the different kind of experience that kind of path have got me, I think I've learned a lot, and I realized myself more deeper of where are those visions and those dreams come from. So I think when I communicate, I have more clarity for myself to communicate. So I think what I see Sheng is that in the past I would communicate from the dreamer perspectives. I'm still a dreamer, and but I also communicate more from the experiential life with the experience, which doesn't make my passion less. It didn't. So I can see like the way of communicating also widen to communicating not only to the people but also to the land, to the or other communities around, trying to bring awareness to what we are doing and constantly looking at how that making impact. I think like there is this constant way of awareness and communication inside, and then that also brings that kind of conversation, trying to bring that kind of conversation to the people and who live together. So it helps to keep us focused of, yeah, why are we here? What are we doing?
I think something I'm picking up in what you're saying is this not just a communication outwards, like maybe previously, now it's a communication and awareness. So you're communicating in yourself as well. You're aware of what you're saying and how it's impacting, and maybe more aware of how it impacts other people.
Mm, mm, mm.
Mm. And Kut Ying and Lockie, I know I didn't get a chance to catch up with you so much, Kut Ying, but Lockie, we talked a little bit about the journey that your community's taken in finding ways to communicate and navigating people from different cultures, because it's a lot of different ideas and different, I guess, ways of being. Can you tell us a little bit about some of those experiences?
Just now when I listened to I was just thinking how very true it is that every day, well, at least for myself, I am immersed in all kinds of conversations. But one thing that just crossed my mind was because last year, when we published the oral history book, it was last year, because yeah, we published a book last year. It's 300-page long, and we used 300 pages to keep records of the about 300 years of Nam Chung's history. And then and because I'm one of the core members of this oral history work group, and we've been collecting stories and interviewing villages for the past 7 or 8 years. And it's just that I was reminded of how every time I think about the book and every time I navigate across the landscape of Nam Chung, and then I feel that somehow through doing little things, be it not just the very small day-to-day things, and I feel that we are building a community that certainly the boundary of which stretches across this tiny group of people who are from the outside. And I feel that, standing on this land, we are somehow also communicating with this land's ancestors, many of which we have never met. And then it's also a very releasing thought, at least for myself, when I think about, one day when I'm not here anymore, there may be future beings, human or otherwise, who will still tread on this land, and they will be doing things here. And then and of course, deep down, there's in me a wish that we could get even closer. So to give a little bit of context, because in Nam Chung is actually there is an existing village. So we are building, so our Ecovillage project is actually situated within this existing village community. So, and we are the so-called outsiders who move to the village from the city. And there is, of course, a lot of crisscrossing communication between us, the Red Blossom Eco Community members, and those indigenous residents who have always been there. And it's true that we often have very different perspectives when it comes to how we position ourselves and how we see our relationship to the land and to the place, and how we envision Nam Chung will become in the future. But for me, there's always hope that we can, like, as we spend time together and as we exchange perspectives, we'll get closer. I don't know how it's like for you, Rocky.
I think on reflection, how I communicate before I enter this community was, the way of communication was violent, efficiency driven, profit driven, that is centered on dumping information, and then that's the end of the conversation is done. But especially from my personal experience, at least in the architecture environment and the setup, is that especially in Hong Kong, is very driven by the developers. So there's how we begin a project is usually started from how profitable the land can be sold, can be sold, and how profitable the next property can make. So I guess it was the triggering point where I started to think if this is how I relate to my design and how I relate to the future users of the building, and I wonder if this is how I relate to the place where I live. So and coming back to where I live right now, we are, the Nam Chung community is like what Putin said, is there's a core group which is around 15 people who live on site. And then there would be, on top of this, there would be around 10 people who actively come to Nam Chung to participate, all kinds of activity, and it comes maybe a few times a week. And on top of this, there would be around 30 people who support the community financially. And those people are usually who cannot, who are busy with their work and maybe only come once a year. And we divide our works into subgroups. So we have many different working groups, farming groups, cooking, and then natural building. And going back to the topic of communication, is that in this small natural building working groups, just like what I did in this past 2 days, because we have working construction day every 2 days per week, and before we meet, before we start our construction, we have a check-in. Everyone share what they have been through the past week, and since we don't really live under the same roof, we have a separate home. This is very extremely important for us to work well together, because if we don't understand the heart or the mental state of that person, simply rushing through the work wouldn't produce a good result, or it would not be actually that efficient. And at the end of the work day, we also have a checkout to see what works, what doesn't. So I think just simply to use this to illustrate how we communicate with colleagues or with people who work together, we try to be try to present the entire self, and also allow the others to present their entire self while we are living and working together.
Authenticity. And I think it's I have this conversation with few people often. It's hard to, when we are so many things, and humans are so many things, and we have so many different sides of us, it's hard to present all of ourselves in one place, in one space, and for someone to see all of it and be, okay, this is this human. I find that's a very brave thing. Authenticity, I think, is super important. And I was interested, you said you have working groups. So you have working groups and they work on a topic. And then how do your working groups, how do they collaborate? Like, or how do you decide in the community or in a working group? Maybe it's the same process. Like what sort of tools or what sort of methods do you use?
I I was just thinking about how a few years ago I was I guess a few years back I desperately wanted face-to-face conversations, and then I used to react quite strongly to WhatsApp messages because I just received so many of them every day, and I still do. And then that was when, yeah, and then that was before we managed to come up with any consensus on how we should make decisions. And then it turns out that those who could afford to meet face-to-face every day tend to make all the decisions. And those who couldn't will be left out of things.
Because you have, like you said, 3 different kind of levels of presence in your community. You have the core group that's there all the time, and then you have people who come like twice a week, and then people who come twice a year.
And yeah, that's something that that's still relatively new, huh? It's only been a few years, and I was talking about perhaps 2019, 2020, when things were a bit different. And so it was at that time a kind of a crisis was that we realized we do need to have some kind of consensus building process agreed by most stakeholders of the community, and to come up with a model of which most of us think that we can follow. Perhaps because back then you were in the study group to look at the different consensus models that we could possibly use.
Yeah, when we think of consensus decision-making mechanism, the first reaction to many of the people would be, it's time-consuming. And this is also our starting point of wondering, does it really work? So there was a crisis of how that relying entirely on WhatsApp to make decision doesn't work, and at the same time relying on those who showing presence the most in the community also will not be agreed by some other people. So we are trying to understand, figure out if there is different forms of consensus making mechanism, so that there's flexibility, but at the same time efficiency, that will not every time draw everyone on board to make one decision. So we in the smallest working group level, we have something called advice process. I'm not going to go into detail of the history of it and the definition of it, but how we work is that there's only two main principles in this advice process, which is you have to inform those who is affected by the issue. And the second criteria is
that you should be aware of the consequences of
Hmm.
the whatever decision you are to make or whatever action you're to take.
Yeah, you are the person who take responsibility
Yeah.
of that decision.
And so much of it is about how much you get a grasp of what is happening in the community and what everybody's temperament is like, and what needs to be done, and what is more, what is on top priority and what is not. So, and then as years go by, it's been, how many years has it been since we've been doing this?
2020.
Since 2020, yeah, since 2020. So it's been, yeah, some 5 years. And then I realize, now that I think about it, a lot of it is based on trust and understanding of each other, and also having a holistic understanding of, yeah, having the big picture. Yeah.
Because this mechanism allow everyone to raise an issue and also allow everyone to make a decision. So this would require people in that is closest to that matter to be active about that issue, and to empower everyone that actually you can also be involved and participate in mobilizing and changing the issues. But at the core of it, like what Kutin said, the structure of the mechanism is one thing, but also what is more important is how do we build trust? That is more of the underlying principle.
Yeah, and I like it that how we are increasingly really consciously using some communication tools like WhatsApp. It in the past it was such a pain to talk about everything on WhatsApp, but these days I feel that we are actually using technology consciously by limiting what's to be communicated on WhatsApp, really simple and to the point. And if there are matters which we think are way too complicated to make decisions on, then we'll wait for, because every Thursday at 1 o'clock, we will have community lunch. And this is an occasion where most of the core members and some volunteers and occasionally visitors will gather together. And also the interns will gather together over lunch. And if there are really urgent matters to discuss these days, we'll make use of that opportunity to have a really short and succinct, community meeting. And it's quite effective, I think. Yeah.
But at the bigger level, and things related to more like complicated issues, we would use the opportunity of the like quarterly core community members meeting to really make decisions when everyone was present in the meeting, and those issues are things related to money, and also things related to land use. Then we would the convener would we take turns to be the convener, and the convener has to gather issues from that 4 months and to be put in that quarterly core members meeting. And over there, we talk about our annual work plans, and also we talk about how do we prioritize different works for this coming year,
And how to spend our money.
and then how do we spend our money, and if there is a change of land use, like for example from farming to building a temporary structures, then we also have to discuss in that meeting. And we have been doing that for maybe 3-4 years. And it works quite well as compared to previous way.
That's a raised hand.
Yeah, do you have a question?
Yes.
Anyone who has a question, feel free to type it in the chat, and then we can pick them up as and when we can. But yeah, what's the question?
Okay. So the question is, where did you expect to be this year when you did the whole planning for the next year? And then what was the difference between your expectation and the outcome?
So let me just clarify. Are you asking in regards to the plans or the communication process?
The plans and being an eco-village.
Okay, so where were you against
What
the
were your-
expectations? Do you have expectations of your plans? Or I guess it's maybe a question of how you form your plans. Again, it's about decision making and communication. So yeah.
Actually, I think before we really sit in a meeting, when we talk about the annual year's plan, we kind of know what will come up. We talk, we maintain communications, informal communications in our daily routine. So we pretty much have something to expect already. But what could be the biggest surprise is mostly the dollar side.
Huh?
How big the cost of that project will be. Sometimes it's a bit we will only know when we sit in the meeting.
So from the
And-
community side, you keep in communication. It sounds like for the process and from a daily point of view, you know each other so well, you're in constant communication. So you have a general sense of where people are and what's going on.
I think so. Since I would say so far, Red Blossom is still a volunteer-based community, and so I think we are quite down to earth. We are really down to earth, and the plans we make are also usually quite realistic. The only I can't say if it's the only exception, but we tend to see quite a lot of exceptions when it comes to doing construction related kind of project. And and because Lockie and his work team is really taking precedence, and I don't think there aren't any other groups or teams like ours, like Lockie's, that are doing the kind of thing that we are doing in Hong Kong. So when it comes to how much something will cost and how long a construction project will take, yeah, I think it never, yeah, it always surprises us.
I have to clarify that. Yeah, she is mentioning that one of the construction projects in our community, but in our community, the constructions is not in charge by a single person or by a single team. So when we have a few different construction at hand, for example, we have to build a new workshop, and then we have to fix the water meter, and then we have to renovate the other tool shed.
And install the solar panels.
Install solar panels. This all four is in charge by 4 different people. And then some of the projects we actually need a tendering process. We asked a few different potential workers to give us a quotation. So I just want to stress that we're constantly aware that we are a very diverse group, and then we try to be democratic in the process, so that it's not the one who is oldest in the community who has the final decision making power.
Yeah, I'm always surprised by how many things we are doing and how many projects are ongoing and how multitasking every of us is. And in a way, it is beautiful. The way I think Brick Blossom presents itself. There are pros and cons, but I think for many projects in life, there's no hurry. No, this is not to say there's no finishing deadline, but there really is no hurry. Yeah, and yeah, that's why it took us a year to we built our last eco kitchen, which was, and yeah, it lasted. No, the process took much longer than some of us expected, but in the end it was built, and we are using it now, and it's beautiful. So yeah, I think we're still learning from the process.
Do you have a reflection?
Yeah, I think the many things I related to what you share. I think in some level we are quite similar, that where we have different level of involvements that people come to connect to the projects, such as visitors, volunteers, short-term volunteers, interns, and those who are supporting the project from outside, and then the people who are involved online. And the way of communication and involving people in different decision-making circles that is quite complex from our experience, and which is what we have been recently trying to organize and trying to find structures for it at the Gaia Ashram. So how can we work with these different layers, different level of involvement that making people still feel included, and at the same time not too much, because life like this, there can be so many information that need to flow through to different people, to different at different moment, and to whom that information concerned to, and to which circle that decision need to be made. It hasn't been for us. It's like before the Gaia Ashram project started from myself and Tom, my husband. So basically all information came to us all the time. So we talk about anything, anytime and anywhere. But now we are on the process of becoming more collective group of people. So then we need to find the structures. When we didn't have that structure, recently we have the experience where we just talk about things that doesn't concern a lot of volunteers who were sitting in the circle, or a lot of people who were in that circle were not really need to hear that or need to be part of that. And then we feel like, okay, sometimes it lead to kind of feeling that people feeling like, oh, why am I wasting my time here? This is not concerning me at all. Or people feel like, why I'm not included in a certain circle. Hello, did I get cut off?
No, I can still hear you. You're good.
Hello.
Can you-
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, yes.
So what we're trying to do now is to organize ourselves a little bit for both the efficiency and effectiveness, as well as trying to create that inclusiveness that is not too much, to the right amount of inclusivity. So we structures where in which circle for volunteer communication, and to which level volunteer involved in decision making. And then we have the short-term interns. So there is the circle of short-term interns, the communication and information that need to flow in that circle, and to which level do they involve in the decision making. And then we have the residential interns, which is people who pass through the short-term intern and wanting to become residential. They can chip into the stage of becoming part of the team. So we have the working groups, which is called a team, such as like farm team, building teams, education team. So the residential interns start to be involved in the team communication and decision making. But the certain thing, the final thing will be, decision will be made in the circle of the residents, the residential member, which is or the decision need to be consent. Even though we are a small group in the resident, it does take a lot of time to find consensus. It's just because sometimes we need to if we have some issue that is not so easy, even if it's easy to find a solution, but sometimes it's coming from a deeper cause, and we sometimes just need to give it more time to go to the bottom of things, of what is really that is scratching. So thing that so everything that being discussed mostly within the circle of the team of each area, they can make decision by themselves. But if it relating to bigger budget and bigger impact project, then it need to be discussed, need to be approved at the resident meeting. So yeah, we are on the process of organizing different kind of information going to different circles because there's so many different levels of involvement, and looking at where the information, what kind of information need to flow through which kind of group of people. And then make sure that there is feedback loop for every circle, that everything that could have feedback loop, that all the requirement for the resident is that they are aware of everything that's going on. Yes. So that is kind of our structure that we are working. Well, we just recently designed together and then practicing it now. And in terms of holding each circle, we have this practice of attunement at the beginning and then the tuning out at the end, just to remind ourselves what we are doing, why we come together, which help because sometimes we don't really like to have a lot of meeting, but to take a moment to remember why is it important and give us a bit of energy. So yeah, I think that that's something I can see, like we have similar reality, Nam Chung and Gaia Ashram. After many years, and now decided that we will go, and we also decide to go collective, but also in the start from small and go slow with having more long-term member, because it's really a lot of how to say, a lot of expectation and responsibility for the member to become aware of our whole system. So people need to enjoy that kind of awareness extending.
Yeah. I wonder as well what you touched on people becoming a full-time member. You don't just walk in and suddenly you're a part of that culture. It's a whole different culture. I think every community has its own identity and the way it operates.
Yeah, and now we start working on that also. We take about a year to go through the process before someone can become a member, and the resident who already member will have to consent in taking new member.
There's a question in the chat for you, Loki and Kutying, about your Kin's asking. She's wondering if the members still feel like your decision-making process now is very time-consuming.
I see that some of our members are online tagging Champagne, Pinewood, and Celine, and I wonder if they'd like to say something about that. That if you still feel, or maybe you never had that feeling, I don't know. How do you like our decision-making process and our many meetings?
Maybe they're shy.
No, I feel that somebody has a strong urge to say something. Have something to say?
You're asking the audience, everyone's in the rooms, or do you want to hear from anyone specifically?
They were asking other members of Nam Chung who are in the audience, but because they've experienced maybe they've experienced the difference in the types of decision-making processes.
I think in some ways it has improved. I would say for sure we have less meeting than before. I mean, how can we have less meeting than before, but also making the same amount of decision is more on point. When we are in the meeting, we already we don't rely on the meeting to get the ideas. I mean, before we have the meeting, if there's some major decision that we have to make, actually we already talk about it beforehand. But so in this regard, I think it's efficient, but at the same time, it takes up quite a lot of time, and for the parts that takes up time is we have to read between the lines. We have to understand that we spend quite a lot of time trying to get to know each other in a deeper level. And sometimes it may not directly relate to the end result, to the topic that we have to make decision on. So sometimes I would feel frustrating because I show up in the meeting in order to make that decision together, and it doesn't, we cannot make it at that time because we are not ready. So that's what I feel sometimes.
Yeah, in a way, I think we are having more meetings than ever. Just that we just that these meetings are not painful. I mean, they are just part of the processes for us to get to know each other at a deeper level. And so much of these meetings so much time is spent on exchanging ideas, discussing topics of common human experiences, what we want to achieve in life, and how we see money, how we see relationships, and how we want to relate to the world, and what is success, and that kind of thing. So as Lockie said, sometimes, yeah, I guess I have this feeling too, that before I go to an official meeting, I already have a sense of, what this person might probably feel, and what this person, what recency has been bothering this person, and what he or she would likely think about this. I can't say that the official meetings have been reduced to just formalities, but it's that we are still keeping these meetings. I mean, why do these meetings? Because it's only in these meetings when we can have the big group together. Like most of the time when we are able to meet, we can only meet in small groups of 3 to at most 10, but right now we have 20. Do we have 20 or 25 board members? Maybe 22, yeah. And when we are able to do that, to meet in a big group of 22 people, and that also for me is important in the sense that it creates a feeling of togetherness, that we are experiencing this together, and this is agreed upon by the whole group, and that's important for building communities.
There are a couple of comments in the chat. Is it T or Tai Ho? Says if expectations are clear and stakeholders are, it can speed up consensus. And time consuming because not knowing who needs to be involved or not being clear. And then Celine says she agrees with you too. It's the process. And as a new member, you're still learning to become familiar and understand the process. Yeah.
Mm.
I wonder, Noki, you spoke a little bit there about
I
frustration.
hear from what could just share that
Go on.
Yes,
yeah, I hear that it seems like sometimes it takes time, not only because it's making decision, right? It's about discussions, and because we are living together and to make decision on certain things, sometimes it take a discussion to really realize our values and understanding each other at a deeper level. So I think often in the meeting, like in a community like this, decision making often involve a lot of discussions. That is like help using discussion to help us to be able to understand where we are better and each one of us where each one of us are better is, and then to really go to the bottom of things. So that is why I think it's taking a long time, which like what Kun said, right? It's necessary for a community to mature, is to realize itself at a deeper level, and discussion is kind of an important process. And we do that discussion when there's issues that we need to talk about. So that is kind of, I think it's hard to avoid, and actually it should be welcomed.
And I was going to ask, you spoke a little bit about frustration earlier,
I think I
Rocky.
got cut off again.
No, you're stuck. I can hear you. It's funny, whenever you say that, it's actually probably very clear. You're still here. You're still here. Did you have something to add on? Or you're freezing? You're freezing a little
No,
bit.
I'm good. I just
Okay.
everyone's look forced into me.
So I
But
just
I'm
wanted
glad
to
that
ask,
everyone has. Okay.
what do you, how do you raise it if you feel tension? If you're in a process and you feel like there's tension, there's something that needs to be, addressed or spoken or dealt with, as individuals or as a community, like how do you do that? I think this is one of the big challenges for a lot of people when they're in community with, multiple personalities. Or how do you even recognize that? That's one question that we talked about a little bit before. That's the first step, right? It's sensing it and knowing that it's there first.
I can speak about individuals. Frustration and how do I get over it in terms of the communication. I think the first thing, like Na said, is you have to realize it. You have to realize that you're frustrated because the communication doesn't work. And because many times you feel frustrated when he or she is frustrated by the end result, but the cause of it may or may not be the communication. But in my case, I guess maybe many times in my case is the communication that make me frustrated, because I would say I am not I'm not good at expressing I'm not good at expressing myself in a sense that I always refrain from I always try to walk away from conflict. So if I want to prevent conflict, I would sometimes if I see the if one task takes so long to get it done, and it is the other person's task, I would actually just take it and do it instead of communicating to the idea that maybe there's a different way to do it, and maybe this process, this task is related to the collective process. So usually I don't raise this issue up, and I would just do it myself. And then after I did it, I would get frustrated because it's always it feels like it's always me who try to fix something, but I've realized more and more that actually by communicating your frustration could is the root of the problem. The other person is not really trying to be lazy or something. He or she just didn't know that there's other way to do it.
I can relate to you, Lockie, as well. This whole idea of doing it yourself rather than taking the challenge to step into a confrontation. It's not really a confrontation, but it feels like a confrontation.
You?
I was just looking at Spencer's comment, and then I was thinking the more I involve myself in the community and what we're doing, and the more I engage with visitors and participants who come to us, and the more I reckon how in a way, the way we live, the way we choose to relate to each other, and this lifestyle is very privileged in this present world. And with this realization, I'm not saying this is something I'm desperately trying to hold on to, something that I cannot release, but it's more coming from a position in which I cherish the time we have spent together and the relationship we have built. And that gives you see really deeply then you can see that all these people around me are just so lovely. And it's such a blessing to be here and to be working with these people. So I guess that's the driving force.
Yeah, so Spencer put in the comments, compromising with a group that has different expectations is so time consuming, can be tiring. What's your driving force? And I think, yeah, it's very special. I think most of the people that live in this sort of community, it's not easier. It's not the easier choice than living in a city. I mean, some ways it is an easier choice, but it's not, and it's a lot of things to learn and a lot of things to practice. I have utmost respect for anyone who's experimenting with a different way of living. So thank you. And there's a question in the chat from Sound of World. What are your expectations of being in the Global Ecovillage Network? And how did you find yourself with Jen now? So how do you find what does that mean to you? I think that's what we're saying there.
Don't have a good answer to that question, but I could explain a little bit how we got involved in Jen. I took my EDE and Gamma Schlossgericke in Switzerland 3 years ago, and I thought, of course, we've always been aware of Jen's presence, what it's doing, but we haven't quite, as a community, agree that we should register. And after doing my EDE, I just thought, perhaps we would like to do this. And I consulted the community. As a community is a person, but anyway, so I threw out the idea, and I think most people said, why not? And so I did it. And that's how we became registered. Yeah, it's just so simple as that.
And what difference, if any, has it made, or what's been the impact? It's okay if there's none. I'm not like leading up to anything, but just interested to know.
We've been I think once we discussed if we actually need this kind of international exposure. But I think so far it turns out to be a really worthwhile experience because we keep receiving messages and requests from international volunteers, and then I think even on this level to have an exchange of ideas on this platform is really valuable for us. Yeah.
I went to another Ecovillage in 2022 in Italy, Torri Superiore, and I had a chat with one of the founders, and before I left, I asked her what is. I think she's in her late 60s, and and then her community, their community is facing a generational transition issue. So they have the next generation, but the next generation didn't really there's in doubt whether they stay in that community. And I just had a question, ask her what is the message that you want to give to the next generation of Ecovillage trying to make their Ecovillage, and then she said to be aware that you are not alone. Yeah, so that's my take to it.
I like to share from and continue from what Loki shared. Like in the early day of Gaia Ashram founding, it was very difficult times. You feel very lonely. You look around, you are different. You are different from your local realities, and even your family don't understand what you are doing. So there's time where you could become very, how to say, doubtful about your own dreams that is seem to in the beginning only exist in your own head, because when you look around, thing is still, not set up yet. And that was the Global Eco Village Network. That was the community that we connected to, that making us feeling like, okay, all this we dream about, there are people who believe in it. There are people who supporting it. You could still feel that you have a community of like-minded people, even though you are alone on your own piece of land, on your own project. That was really, really helpful to keep up the stories in our mind alive, and then keep us going, because we keep ourselves surrounded by people who believe in us and believe in our story. And we keep seeing that their stories is what we are striving for. And that's so much gratitude I have for the network that is inspire me to get involved in the network, in even trying to organize this, to make sure that the network is there, that is made this kind of support made available for those who want to start their project. And when they become very experienced and very mature, their platform where they can share their experience, that will also help to mentor the younger project. And I think that's how we keep the movement going.
Yeah, thank you both. And in the messages, Kin says, I resonate with that, Lockie. Hearing your sharing today definitely makes me feel like we're not alone, because in our community, we also went through something similar like yours. And the love, the vision, and the motivation to continue are also very connected. Yeah. And Chang, as a friend of Nam Chung, I believe the Nam Chung community is doing something truly meaningful on not only building connections with the land, but also in continuously fostering connections, not just among people, but with animals and plants. And this kind of work is extremely rare and precious in Hong Kong, in the whole world, I would say. Moreover, Nam Chung's oral history project and book publication carry great significance, in that they have brought many people together whilst always also breaking down boundaries between insiders and outsiders. In doing so, they created a significant ecological community in Hong Kong and a pioneering, deeply important path forwards. Deep respect to them and to Gaia Ashram.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I visited Nam Chung like 2 years ago, and the infrastructure was still very basic. I don't know if it's still basic, But people were very excited and enthusiastic and look very happy. You know, and then when you have your first impression, if you don't talk to people yet, you see like, okay, all this structure that unfinished or like, but when you start talking to people, you realize like the real story is in their dream, in their visions, and then that where you start to appreciate everything so much. So yeah, thank you for doing that in Hong Kong.
Yeah, I've heard of your community from other people I've been on courses with, and I was like, because I have no concept of Hong Kong, you know, what it looks like or how it is. And I'm like, it must be so difficult to start an eco village in Hong Kong. But having met you and researched about your community, I'm very grateful that you're able to do it so close to an urban center. So people from the city can really, urbanites, as Lockie introduced me to this word, urbanites can come out and see what it could be to live in another way. So we're mindful of the time. We've got a couple of minutes left. Is there anything else you guys want to share? Any words or resources or any invitations or offers or requests? And you can also give them to us afterwards. We will do a follow-up to this and send out the recording and some notes. So anything, yeah, you want to add?
So we have a lot of events. So do check out our social media. And also we have a website. I think Kin has shared it on the chat, and also yeah, so you can look it up on the internet.
Can you tell us just some examples of some of the events you do?
We have natural buildings. We are making a lot of mud bricks, and also we are building a bamboo a workshop space. So if you are interested in constructions, natural building, then that's something that would interest you. We also have just finished this year a mini version of our EDE trial. It's not, we did not brand it as a EDE because we don't have the facilitator certificate yet, but we are using the framework of EDE to run a 6 days course. And we haven't have our final debriefing reunion with the participant yet, but so far we know that many of the participants enjoyed it and have good experience and inspiration from that. So hopefully we can do it next year.
Amazing. Thank you.
Yeah.
And Gaia, what would you like to share?
Yeah, there's a lot going on here at Gaia Ashram. We open for volunteer, interns, visitors. We have many programs relating to permaculture, Ecovillage lifestyle, Ecovillage design education, deep ecology, and we welcome anyone who are passionate about learning how can we find innovations that is helping us to co-living better with each other and with nature. Come and explore it together.
Yes, and we're just about at time. So thank you everyone for coming. Thank you, and Kut Ying.
Thank you, Na.
And yeah, we'll send out a message to follow up and let you know of the next Eco Village talk as it comes. So see you next time.
See you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.